Okay, so have you ever been there? Right at the start of something big in your life, maybe a new job or a really ambitious health goal, maybe even just
Hmm.
figuring out who you are. And you get that urge, right? That almost automatic feeling that you need to tell everyone, announce the plan, lay out all the reasons why, maybe even look for a bit of that, early approval from people.
Oh, definitely. It's super common,
Uh,
almost instinctive, like you said. We want to share that potential.
Exactly. But here's the twist we're exploring today. What if doing that, all that explaining and broadcasting, what if it isn't actually helping you move forward? What if it's actually like subtly draining the very energy you need for the thing itself? Could that need to justify ourselves be, well, could it be holding us back?
That's the core question, isn't it? It's a really fascinating, kind of counterintuitive idea.
It really is. So today we're doing a deep dive into this strategy for growth and getting things done and finding some inner peace too. It's all about the power of silent discipline and just consistent action. We're going to explore why sometimes, the biggest statements aren't made with words at all. They're made through quiet, steady, just undeniable progress.
Hmm. Letting the results do the talking, essentially.
Precisely. And our guide for this, our source material, it's this really compelling collection of thoughts called The Power of Silent Discipline and Consistent Action. It offers this powerful, sometimes kind of challenging view on how we should protect our focus, manage our energy, which is finite, right? And really tap into the hidden drivers of real transformation.
Yeah, it definitely pushes back against a lot of assumptions we have, especially now in a world that feels like it demands constant updates.
Totally. So our mission here for you listening is to pull out the most useful, most actionable bits of wisdom from this stuff. We want to help you figure out how to use silence strategically, like a tool, how to guard your energy like it's, I don't know, treasure.
Yeah, like it's non-renewable. Because it is.
Exactly. And how to build up that kind of consistency that actually creates the future you want, not just promises it.
Should be some real aha moments in here, I think. Stuff that could genuinely shift how you approach your big goals.
I think so too. Okay, let's dig in. Right. So first up is this really big idea, shifting from proving yourself to just doing the work. The source material just jumps right in. It basically says, stop wasting your energy trying to convince people
Hmm?
who just aren't going to get your vision anyway.
Or maybe don't want to get it.
Right. And it's really clear you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing growth, for choosing the harder path over just staying comfortable. Is this your growth is personal, your discipline is sacred, your goals belong to you, not to other people's opinions or
It's a
doubts.
strong stance right out of the gate.
It is. And it makes you think because we often feel like explaining ourselves is part of the process, right? Like it's building support or networking maybe. But this view suggests it's actually a net loss of energy, a drain. What's the real difference there? Where are we maybe getting it wrong?
Well, I think the source points to something deeper than just, wasted time. It frames it as a significant uh, cognitive and emotional energy drain. Every minute you spend defending your choices, trying to articulate why you're doing what you're doing to someone who's skeptical.
Yeah.
That's mental energy, emotional capital. That's not going into the actual building, the creating, the moving forward.
Okay, so it's like bandwidth, like mental bandwidth being used up.
Exactly like that. Think
Yeah.
of your brain like a computer processor, right? If you got all these background programs running, justifying, defending, managing perceptions, there's just less power available for the main task, the strategic thinking, the execution. It's not just about minutes on the clock. It's about your focus, your resilience. It's a real drain on your capacity.
That framing, the physiological and cognitive drain, that really lands because we do often feel this need, this almost obligation to justify what we're doing, especially if it's about self-improvement or breaking away from what everyone else is doing. Why is that? Is it needing acceptance, fear of being judged, or trying to get support, maybe?
That's probably a mix of all those things,
Yeah.
And the source calls it this illusion of obligation,
Yeah.
which I think is brilliant. We want people to accept us. We naturally don't like being judged. And yeah, sometimes we hope that explaining will get us some backup, some validation.
Right, a bit of encouragement.
But the argument here is when you're chasing that approval, you're basically giving away a bit of your own power, letting others steer your ship.
Hmm.
Your destiny, as the source puts it, isn't up for a vote. It's something you forge
Mhm.
quietly through discipline.
That's a big mental shift.
It is. And here's another key part. The act of explaining can sometimes replace the act of doing.
How so?
Well, when you talk a lot about your plans, especially if you get positive feedback, your brain can kind of register that as progress. You get a little dopamine hit, feel good.
Ah, like you've already achieved something.
Exactly, even before the real work starts. And that can actually lower the internal drive, the pressure you need to actually push through the hard parts. It's
Yeah.
like getting praised for showing up at the starting line, and your brain thinks, okay, job done.
Wow, okay. That connects to that line from the source. Growth isn't explained, it's lived. That hits hard. It's the difference between talking the talk and walking the walk. And it reminds me of that analogy they used. Why waste time convincing those who will never water your garden? You alone will harvest what you plant.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It really screams self-reliance, doesn't it? Owning your own journey.
Totally. It cuts right to the core truth. Your growth, your results, they're yours. People might offer opinions, maybe some initial cheerleading, but they're not the ones doing the daily grind. They're not watering your garden day in, day out, especially when things get tough. So spending your energy, that precious, finite energy, trying to convince or convert them. It's like, yeah, trying to grow something in concrete while your own good soil is just sitting there waiting.
Mm.
And the source is blunt about it.
Oh.
The greatest achievers. They didn't tweet every step. They moved quietly, let the work speak, let the results shut down the noise.
It's a call to rely on your own conviction, isn't it? Because that external validation feels good, sure, but it's flimsy fuel.
Very flimsy. The real engine has to be internal.
Yeah, I think we can all picture that person, right? The one who just quietly gets up early, maybe stays off social media, just focuses on their thing. People might call them boring or too intense or whatever.
Yeah, obsessed.
Exactly. But those labels aren't going to build their future, are they? They won't pay the bills or carry the weight. There's got to be a huge sense of freedom, like the source says, when you decide, okay, I'm protecting my energy. Silence is my strategy now.
It's reclaiming your power, really.
Yeah.
Stepping away from needing that external chorus.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into the next big idea. Silence not just as, like, quiet, but as a shield.
A protective barrier?
Right. The source argues that focusing inward protects your vision, especially when it's new and fragile, from the poison of doubt and other people's insecurities.
Which are often projected onto you.
Exactly. So silence keeps the vision pure, keeps the momentum going, and keeps your energy aimed squarely at action. It's self-preservation.
It's a deliberate defense mechanism for your goals.
Silence as a shield. I like that framing. It's not about being sneaky, it's about protecting something vital. And the source makes this really interesting, maybe slightly uncomfortable point.
Right.
When someone demands an explanation for your choices, especially growth choices,
Yeah.
it often isn't coming from a place of pure care. It might actually be because your growth is making them uncomfortable.
Oof. Yeah. That's a tough one to swallow sometimes.
It is. Like, your discipline might just highlight their lack of it. And instead of being inspired, their reaction is to try and maybe subconsciously pull you back.
It definitely forces you to look at the motivation behind the questions you get asked. Why are they really asking?
Exactly. It's a critical reframe. We need to evaluate where that questioning is coming from.
Because if your path, your hard work, accidentally shines a light on someone else's stagnation, you might get pushback. Their doubt isn't really about your ability. It might be a reflection of their fears, their discomfort with you moving upwards.
So you have to guard against that. Stop feeling like you need to make everyone understand.
That's what the source argues, yes.
Guard your path.
Stop feeding that need to be understood by everyone. There's that line again. Freedom begins the day you realize you don't need to justify your grind.
Yeah.
If it feels right to you, if it aligns with your values, moves you towards your vision, that's enough. It's radical self-validation. It's liberating.
That freedom sounds amazing. Just knowing that the only validation that truly matters, the only fuel that lasts, is the conviction you build inside yourself. But okay, this idea that talking too much kills momentum, I feel like that's something many of us do, probably without realizing the full impact.
Guilty as charged, sometimes.
Right. The source says every time you share your plans too early, you leak energy that should be going into doing the thing. Words feel powerful when you say them, like you're making progress. But if there's no action right behind them, they just fizzle and create this illusion.
Exactly. It's a psychological trap.
So how does that work? How does the talking replace the doing in our heads? What's going on there?
It ties into something called symbolic self-completion. When you talk about your goals, especially if people react positively, your brain gets a little reward.
The dopamine hit again.
Right. And that feeling of accomplishment, just from saying it, can actually reduce the internal tension, the hunger, the drive you need to do the actual often difficult work.
Yeah.
It tricks your mind. You've gotten the social reward already just for stating the intention.
Okay.
So the pressure to execute lessons.
Wow. Okay, so you're basically celebrating before the game's even started.
Pretty much. And you've used up some of that vital game fuel just talking about it? The source is clear. Talking too much tricks you into believing progress has been made. But real progress, that only comes from execution. Relentless, often quiet execution.
And talking too much also opens the door to negativity, right? The source warns about putting your dreams out there too soon.
Absolutely. It makes them vulnerable.
You invite doubt from people who don't get it, envy from those who might wish they were doing it, maybe even sabotage from people who feel threatened by your drive.
Yeah, the source says oversharing hands them the very weapons they'll use against you, which is a really strong image.
It is. It's an urgent warning. Protect that fragile, early-stage idea.
Exactly. Think of a new idea like a tiny seedling. It needs protection, the right conditions to grow strong roots. Putting it out in the world too early is like planting it in a storm without any shelter. Doubts, criticism, negativity, they can stunt its growth before it even gets going.
So silence is the shelter.
Silence is the shield, the greenhouse. It's not about being secretive just 'cause, it's strategic preservation. It keeps the vision pure, keeps momentum safe from interference, keeps your energy focused on action.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like with a creative project, share it too early, get a load of unsolicited feedback.
And bam, motivation gone. Compared to working quietly, building a strong foundation, then sharing it from a place of strength.
Right, protecting that internal fire, that focus.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's shift gears slightly. Section 2. Discipline forged in silence, guarding your most valuable resources. The argument here is that real discipline isn't built overnight. It's slow, step by step, and it can be shattered instantly by distraction.
Fragile in some ways.
And silence helps remove those distractions, making you, interestingly, powerful and unpredictable. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. This idea that silence itself makes you powerful, like an unseen force. How does guarding your vision so closely become a strategic advantage?
Well, the source puts it beautifully. Talking makes you predictable. Silence makes you powerful. It's not just rhetoric, it's strategy. When you keep your plans, your next moves, quiet. Nobody knows enough to interfere effectively. Nobody can really prepare to stop you or counter you.
The element of surprise.
Exactly. The source describes it as becoming a storm that no one saw coming. If competitors, naysayers, even well-meaning but perhaps undermining friends don't know your exact strategy or progress.
They can't throw obstacles in your way.
Precisely. You get this clear runway to build momentum, gain skill, develop strength quietly. Then when you do reveal your work, it's substantial, it's undeniable. It's harder to dismiss or attack.
So you let the results land with maximum impact because no one saw them coming with that force.
That's the idea. Let the work speak loudly when it's ready.
And distraction is the big enemy here. Not just external noise, but the internal chatter too, right? Fueled by explaining, defending.
Absolutely. The source emphasizes that distraction is way more than just your phone buzzing. It's the mental space taken up by managing perceptions, responding to critics, that internal debate about whether you're doing the right thing according to others.
Yeah, that internal monologue can be exhausting.
It really can. And if your focus is constantly pulled towards defending or explaining, it simply cannot be on mastering your craft, solving problems, doing the deep work. The source says the fuel meant for progress gets drained in conversations that lead nowhere. That lost energy directly hits your ability to sustain discipline.
So silence helps conserve that mental and emotional energy, keeps the focus sharp.
Exactly. It lets you listen to your own gut, observe more clearly, and just grow without constantly seeking external input or validation. Every bit of energy goes into building, not proving.
And it also helps fight that temptation to celebrate too early, doesn't it? Which, let's be honest, we all kind of like doing.
Oh yeah, that premature victory lap feels good.
But the source says silence keeps you hungry, focused on the actual goal. Talking too much, getting that early praise, tricks your brain into thinking the job's done, or nearly done.
Kills the drive you need for the tough middle parts.
Yeah. It really shows the subtle psychological power of external recognition, how it can sometimes backfire.
It's a really critical point. That early praise, that ego boost, feels great, but it can genuinely slacken the tension, the urgency needed to finish strong. The source makes this great distinction. Talking feeds the ego, but silence feeds the soul.
I like that.
The short-term buzz from the ego boost is nothing compared to the deep, resilient satisfaction that comes from quiet internal discipline and real progress, often made alone.
Like the athlete training in secret or
They-
the entrepreneur building behind closed doors?
exactly. They shock everyone when they emerge because the work was done unseen. That's the power of hidden disciplined effort.
It really emphasizes that true, lasting discipline thrives away from the spotlight, doesn't it? Okay, now let's talk about protecting energy. Because the source is emphatic. Energy is your greatest resource. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Cannot be stressed enough, it's non-refundable.
So we have to guard it fiercely from negativity, pointless debates, and especially from trying to explain things to people who just seem committed to misunderstanding you.
This is really foundational to the whole philosophy here. The source is so direct. Your energy is your greatest resource, and once it's wasted, you can't get it back. It's not being dramatic, it's just a fact. Every argument you get sucked into, every defense you mount, every interaction with negativity, it's draining the fuel you need for your future.
It suggests people fail not from lack of talent, but from misspending their strength.
Yeah, essentially, pouring it into the wrong places, letting it get siphoned off by things that don't actually move the needle.
That water analogy comes back here too, right? Pouring water into barren soil.
Yes. If you pour it into barren soil, meaningless debates, endless explanations, people who are never going to support you, you have less left to nourish your own growth.
It really forces you to think about where your energy is going each day. A powerful metaphor.
Super powerful and practical. It prompts that daily check-in. Is this conversation, this task, actually watering my garden? Or is it just barren soil?
And if it's barren soil,
Then silence or polite disengagement is the strategic move. It's not weakness. It's active self-preservation, saving your energy for the battles that truly matter.
the internal battles of discipline, the external efforts of creating.
Exactly. And the source suggests most people who challenge you aren't doing it out of care, but projecting their own stuff, fears, insecurities.
And if you engage, you end up carrying their weight too.
You'll end up carrying their weight on top of your own,
Yeah.
which is just crushing.
Wow. That leads right into that quote. Energy wasted on defense is energy stolen from execution. That hits hard. How does that trade-off work so directly?
It's a basic resource allocation, right? Your cognitive and emotional energy is finite. If it's being spent defending, explaining, arguing, that exact same energy cannot be spent planning, creating, problem-solving, building. It's a zero-sum game for your focus.
You can't do both at the same time, effectively?
Not effectively, no. The source says you don't win by convincing others, you win by creating results. And interestingly, when the results are undeniable, the doubters often just go quiet anyway.
So the results become the best argument.
The only argument that ultimately matters. Successful people, the material notes, master this art of energy protection. They don't show up to every fight they're invited to.
They don't waste mornings arguing online or evenings justifying their choices.
Right. They guard their energy for their mission because they know the work will outlast the opinions. The work is the defense.
Okay, but practically speaking, how do we get better at this? In a world that's constantly pulling at us, demanding responses, how do we spot that barren soil and consciously redirect our energy?
It really starts with self-awareness, doesn't it? And clarity on your own mission, your own values. When you feel that pull to explain or defend, just pause. Take a breath.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is this conversation really nourishing my garden? Or is it barren soil?
A quick internal check.
Yeah. And if it's barren soil, then deploy silence.
Yeah.
Or a polite but firm exit. The source calls this survival, not selfishness. Protecting your energy means valuing yourself enough to save it for the mountains you plan to climb, not wasting it on the pebbles of pointless arguments.
Remembering what you'll actually value later, the building, not the debating.
Exactly. It's a muscle. You get better at it with practice. Conscious redirection.
Okay, that's a powerful framework. It really drives home how finite that energy is. All right, let's move into our final section, the untamed power of results, consistency, and transformation. First point here. The trap of validation versus the strength of internal fuel. The idea is that validation is a trap, basically. Real strength comes from inside, from a drive that doesn't depend on applause.
Your fire has to be self-fueled.
Right. So what about someone just starting out? When maybe a little bit of encouragement feels really necessary, how do you make that shift from needing applause to fueling yourself?
That's a really important question, and the source tackles it. It says, yeah, validation feels good, but it's a trap. It even calls it dependence disguised as motivation.
Ooh, strong words.
Yeah, because when your drive depends on applause, your effort slows down the moment the crowd goes silent. So while that initial pat on the back can help get you started, true, sustainable drive has to come from within eventually.
So how do you make that transition?
It's a conscious shift in focus, deliberately detaching your sense of worth, your reason for acting, from external rewards, anchoring it instead to your internal purpose, your vision, your commitment. It's about building a discipline that is a source that doesn't need compliments, likes, applause, or recognition. It just shows up because the mission matters,
Yeah.
not because anyone's watching.
It's that quiet inner voice saying, I'm doing this anyway.
Whether you believe in me or not, this is my path.
Mhm.
That's a powerful internal stance.
A declaration of independence from opinion. And the source is realistic too, right? It admits the world won't always cheer you on.
Far from it. Criticism, misunderstanding, even mockery, they're often part of the deal.
So if your self-belief is tied to approval, you're setting yourself up to fail when that approval dries up, which it inevitably will sometimes.
Absolutely. That's the fragility of external validation. The source says, if your self-belief is tied to their approval, you'll crumble when that approval disappears. That's why true greatness is never built by those who need permission to keep going.
You have to learn to walk alone sometimes.
Yes, to keep going when no one notices, work when no one cares, believe when everyone doubts. That's real discipline.
And that's the difference between looking successful and becoming successful.
Exactly. Validation boosts the ego, temporarily. Discipline builds the future, permanently. The core message: fuel your fire from within, your vision, your purpose, your commitment. Because the moment you stop needing validation,
You become unstoppable.
pretty much,
Yeah.
you're moving for impact, not for attention.
That internal fuel sounds like the absolute bedrock. Okay, switching slightly, the source also talks about how silence and consistency transform relationships. It suggests silence isn't just about you, it reveals truths in your connections with others, separates the talkers from the doers.
Yeah, it's fascinating how this internal practice ripples outward.
And that consistent action, not big promises, is what really builds trust.
It really is. The source has this almost observational tone about it. Silence has a way of revealing truth. It separates the dreamers from the doers, the committed from the talkers.
Hmm.
In relationships, words can impress you for a minute, right? But it's the consistent, quiet action that builds that solid bridge of trust over time.
You see who actually shows up.
Exactly. Who follows through? Who honors their word quietly versus just making noise? It teaches you to observe more keenly, judge people by their patterns, not just their promises.
Which is a vital skill for figuring out who's genuinely supportive.
Absolutely critical.
And the source also touches on how distractions like gossip, comparing yourself to others, needing validation, steal energy from relationships too.
Right. That energy drain we talked about. It applies here too. The time and mental space spent on gossip, comparison, chasing likes. That's energy not spent on genuine connection, understanding, mutual growth.
It makes relationships more superficial.
It can, yeah. It creates noise and distance. But the source highlights something else. Discipline in silence builds self-respect, and self-respect profoundly transforms how you connect with others.
How does that work?
When you consistently keep promises to yourself, when you show up for your own goals quietly, you build internal integrity, a strong core, and that inner strength naturally radiates. You attract people who also value consistency, depth, character, over chaos and empty words.
Because you value it in yourself first.
Precisely. The message is clear. Announcements don't build relationships, habits do. It's the quiet, consistent actions, the integrity shown over time, that forms the bedrock of real connection.
So connecting that to the bigger picture, cultivating personal discipline quietly actually leads to healthier, more authentic relationships, moves us beyond the surface level.
I think that's exactly the argument. By focusing internally, prioritizing action over performance, you build that foundation of self-respect and integrity. This radiates outward. You become someone who follows through not for show, but out of internal commitment. That quiet reliability is inherently trustworthy and attractive.
It changes the basis of the connection.
Yes, to character, shared values, mutual respect. Rather than just promises or needing constant validation, you naturally draw in people who appreciate that quiet strength, leading to deeper, more meaningful bonds.
That's a really powerful ripple effect. Okay, final point. The compounding power of consistent small actions for life transformation. The core idea. Real transformation isn't usually one big leap. It's the quiet rhythm of small, deliberate steps, repeated relentlessly. Consistency is the bridge from vision to reality.
The slow, steady wins the race kind of idea.
Exactly. So let's unpack this idea that transformation is rarely dramatic and often sneaks up on you. Because we're so often sold the opposite, right? The overnight success story. How does consistency change that narrative?
It completely flips that myth of instinct success on its head. The source emphasizes greatness is never built in a single day. It is shaped by the quiet, steady rhythm of small, deliberate steps repeated over and over. It recognizes that motivation, while great for starting, is unreliable. It ebbs and flows. Consistency, that's the bedrock. That's what creates lasting results.
Successful people aren't always motivated, they're just consistent.
Exactly. They show up. They do the work. Tired, discouraged, unseen, doesn't matter. They do it anyway. That's the engine of real progress.
And it's about persistence, not perfection, right? Because it's easy to get down when results aren't immediate.
So easy. But the source says consistency isn't about being flawless. It's about choosing progress over excuses, discipline over comfort, and action over delay.
People give up too soon, missing that cumulative effect.
Precisely. They underestimate the power of the small daily effort. The source uses that great analogy. Just as water carves stone not with force but with persistence, success is built by the steady drip of daily effort.
Every small action adds up. Reading 10 pages, walking 30 minutes, writing a bit.
Individually, they seem tiny, negligible almost. But stack them up over months, years. That's where the magic happens. That's transformation. Like the source says, what you do daily becomes who you are. That identity, forged in consistent effort, builds the life you want.
And that's how it sneaks up on you. It's gradual, almost invisible day to day.
Yeah. Rarely dramatic. Subtle shifts building momentum until one day you look back and think, wow, look how far I've come. Often without noticing the tiny steps along the way.
And that process builds resilience, patience, self-trust.
Absolutely. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, quietly, you're proving to yourself you can be relied upon. You're building trust with yourself.
That self-trust must be the foundation of real confidence.
It really is. Without that consistency, dreams stay dreams. With it, they become reality. And the source wraps it all up perfectly. You don't owe the world explanations. You owe yourself discipline, focus, and persistence. Talking about your plans won't build them. Only execution will.
Wow. A powerful call to action and silence. What a journey today, huh? Diving into this unseen power of silence and relentless action, we've really explored how silence isn't just emptiness, it's strategic. A shield for energy, a forge for discipline, a guardian for your vision.
A powerful presence, not an absence.
And we've seen how that internal validation beats external applause every time. How consistent, quiet action is the real architect of your future.
Building in the shadows until the results shine too brightly to ignore.
Exactly. So the core takeaways seem pretty clear.
Yeah, I think so. First, guard your energy fiercely. It's your most valuable, non-renewable resource.
Absolutely. Second.
Embrace silence as a strategic tool for growth, focus, momentum, shielding your vision.
Okay. Third.
Prioritize consistent action over endless talk or premature announcements. Let results be your answer.
And finally.
Fuel yourself from within, your vision, your purpose, not the fleeting applause of others.
Got it. Protect energy, use silence strategically, prioritize consistent action, fuel from within. Okay, so as we wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to think about this week. A little provocative thought. If success really is built in quiet consistency and transformation happens gradually, what's one small, consistent action you could start today, without telling anyone, just for you, to prove to yourself that you can build the future you want?
Just one small thing done consistently.
Yeah, and just imagine how much further, how much faster you might go if you took all the energy you currently spend explaining or defending yourself and just poured it all directly into building it instead.
A powerful question to sit with.
Go forth, build in silence. Let your results make the noise. Until next time, keep digging deep.